Today on training days, it's getting a little rough. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Skyrider Limited. I am Jesse. Today, it's another episode of Training Days. It is the end of August. It's been a minute since we've done one of these. Nearly 2 months, actually. Although it'll come out in the correct month, so there will be one a month still. Excuse me. As you can probably tell, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold here. And by getting over, I mean I'm only slightly not dying now. Um, excuse me. Basically, I was in pretty rough shape for the last couple weeks. Haven't really flown. Prior to that, some family members were traveling, so I didn't have a ton of free time. So I snuck out a few times, but I didn't really get any practice in. For that, it was July, and it was Newport, which was it's a good festival, but very chaotic this year. Only got to fly once each day performing, and quite honestly, not my best work. You will see by now. You have seen two of the three performances. The third being a one-off pairs performance with one of my former pairs partners. And you will see the last one probably next month. And that's the one I'm kind of disappointed in. It was dual end routine, and obviously that's the one that I was really hopeful was going to go well because it's part of the building blocks for what we're doing here for Worlds. However, some other things have transpired. The biggest one being that I went back and watched last Worlds, so 2024, and the music that I was hopeful I was settling on, which is a routine I've been doing for demos for a while, Symphony for the New World, Dvorak's Ninth Symphony. Well, I realized that the flyer from the Netherlands last year used it. And so I'm not going to, which means we are back where we started. With me not being 100% sure where I'm going with my music choice. I have a few things in the possible column. Um, it feels like a step backwards. I'm not gonna lie. And it's a little disheartening and stressing because obviously the clock is running down. Like, this is the third one of these. We've been talking about this for a minute, and I keep, hammering on about my music choice, but never really making one. So I got a few things going on. I've got a friend who's working to edit a piece that I am really interested in using down in a interesting way because it's the editing for it was above my skill level. I'm very handy when it comes to video editing and a lot of other media work, but audio editing I'm only okay at. And it's a 5.5 minute track, and as we talked about before, music needs between 2 and 4 minutes. So he's set to work trying to figure out a way to do that. He is a DJ, so he's got some extra tools and some trick software that will hopefully get us where we need to go on that. If it doesn't work, I have a couple other songs that I am interested in, and one of the things I am going to do today is put my headphones in and listen to them while I'm flying and see if anything jumps out at me as this could be the one sort of thing. There's some stuff I've used previously, but not in a decade that I may, or some stuff that I edited for myself and then never used. So I don't know. I'm working on it. In the meantime, today is fairly windy. It's about 13 miles an hour, which is not super strong, but it is gusting to 25. So, I am off to find a spot to fly, one of my usual spots where I can get some of those stronger gusts, and we're going to test some equipment and see what the solution is going to be for the wind coming up, because you may remember I did some testing early in this series with the setup I had used at Grand Haven and trying to see what it was going to do to how the kite felt to trick. And say the results weren't ideal would be an understatement. So I have a number of different wind breaks that I want to try instead of running heavier line to move where that drag resides. I've got a set that will go on to the kite itself, and then I've got some what are called wind tamers. Some people call them diaper brakes. They are a piece of screen mesh that goes between the lines and the kite, so it does have a similar effect to the line drag. I have never used them on a kite with leaders before. Um, and I also have two different widths of them. And I grabbed both sets to play with because, frankly, I'm not sure uh, which is going to be the right answer, since these are 30 odd years old and they were made for kites with toe points where we used to put them much closer to the center. And obviously, as kites evolved, bridles evolved, and one of the things that has evolved with them is a widening toe point to enable certain tricks, make backspins and things like that a little easier. So that's where we're at. Um, it's weird, and I don't have a great answer. I mean, I guess the Newport, you know, demo not being as good as I wanted it to be is a bummer. But it's less disappointing since it's not the routine I'm going to competition with. Honestly, perfect, perfectly honest about it all here. I think part of what is so stressful is when I was doing this previously, there were at least 5 competitions a year. So, you were never more than a couple months break between competitions, which really kept you from overthinking things. I just had to pick a song to get on with it because we were competing, and then we were competing again, and then we were competing again. Instead, with a almost 1 year buildup, I find myself with far too much time to analyze the choices. And I think that maybe more than anything is really plaguing me here. And awareness of it doesn't change it. The fact that I know I'm probably suffering from analysis paralysis has not changed the fact that I am suffering from analysis paralysis. You know what I mean? So that's where we're at. Yeah, I'm gonna go out and fly. Um, I do have one bright spot about a month from now, little like 5 weeks from now, is the American Kite Flyer Association National Convention. And I am really excited. I haven't been to one in a long time, and I wasn't going. I wasn't going to. I'd actually let my membership dues drop for the first time since I'd been back flying. And then I got asked if I would consider maybe changing my mind and helping get involved a little and see what we can do about making the AKA and sport kiting happy together again. And I said yes. So, convention is in Niagara Falls, New York this year. So I'm really looking forward to heading up there in a little over a month. And, basically just hanging out and flying some sport kites with some AKA folks. And one of the nice things is they've been cool about letting us be inviting. And so, if you want to come check out Sport Kites, I don't even think you actually have to be a member to just come check out what's going on at the convention for the first time, because these are non-registered workshops. Um, we're just going to be out there flying on one of the fields most of the days. So, I mean, I'm sure the AKA would be stoked if you would consider joining and registering for the convention. And there's a lot of benefits to it because there's a lot of other workshops, kite making techniques, and all sorts of cool stuff. Um, my friend Cassie from Flying Smiles is teaching a workshop on her day bag, which is a great little kite bag for throwing a few kites and some lines in and going out with quads or half length, dual line, and going out for fly. And she's going to teach you how to make them. So lots of cool stuff like that going on. So there are events coming up. They're not necessarily performance events. And so, the main focus remains on April and Worlds. Yeah, so off we go to fly. So, here's what we got. I have two sets of brakes. These are a set by Air One that were meant for their kites. These guys are going to go on standoffs and kind of loop into the frame of the kite. So we're going to give those a try today. And then we have these guys. And so these are wind tamers. And like I said, I honestly don't know which, is going to be the better option. These are the narrower wind tamers. And so the first concern is this too narrow for for the toe points? The nice thing about these guys is I have them in various depths. So I think I've 3, 6, 9, and 12-inch. So that gives me quite a lot of adaptability in terms of throwing drag on. I don't think these narrow ones are going to be the move. I think this bag here, which has the wider ones in it, I think these guys are going to be the way to go. These are much longer. I think that's going to interfere less with the kite doing its thing. So, name of the game today is figuring out which one works. So we're going to throw some gear together and give that a try. So this first one's going to be that Air One spoiler. Hopeful that because it's on the sail, it's going to create some drag without costing me much. We are on the vent. We are also on much lighter line than I normally would fly 25-mile-an-hour wind, 150-pound ish. So we are experimenting, and we will see what happens from here. Oh boy, that is a lot of drag already. Like, I like the speed that's giving us. I don't like what it's doing for the kite with the bumpy wind. It does produce a very nice accent, though, doesn't it? Ooh, thermally. I go backwards like we're in low wind. Throughout the rest of these rounds, since lines were not put away in good shape. Okay. Ooh, boy. I mean, this is definitely feeling like I'm potentially positive with solo. It's not no button for pull, only speed. The nice thing about going to heavier lines the nice thing about going to heavier lines is they also eat up some of the pull, which these brakes are not doing. Interesting. Nope.
I mean, all right. So once it gets to its back, it doesn't interfere terribly. So overall, not in love with the result. Definitely slows the kite down. Definitely not the solution I was hoping it would be, though. I do like how broad my window is still with them. See, we're all the way from there way across to here. But yeah, not my favorite solution. All right, let's take a pause here. All right, so 6-inch wind tamer now. Took the Air One screen off. This is the wider toe point. After looking at the kite, the wide toe point definitely appears to be the right answer. You probably see from the foliage around just how hard the wind is going right now. So, uh, again, I really like the forward speed here. Not do, if anything, adding pull, which is a little concerning uh, for line weights, but not a deal ender. So still axles well with the wind tamer out on the leaders. So one of the problems we used to have with these was you used to catch the tail when you're trying to do tricks because they're much closer because no leaders on the old bridles. Um, I think it's just a very weird wind here. It's very thermally. You can see the kite jumped up a mile there. So I'm not going to read too much into struggles in getting it onto its back right now. Goes in, comes out. Do think that's going to be a problem. Uh, I foresee that spoiler on the lines pulling the nose down when it's on its back. So that's probably not ideal. But again, this is dire straits stuff at the top of the wind, which if Burke it could be. So I mean, you've got something. It's going to be a matter of like, how well can we make it stay and do the things? How much am I going to have to clip out if the wind is like this? And obviously, I'm not at 100%, so I'm not running after it trying to get extra. But I still think this is pretty telling. This you'll get a pretty good look at what it wants to do on its back. Yeah, again, not the worst. Um, and like here, got to take into account that this grass is long and grabby right now. That's gonna hurt things a little. Yeah. So I mean, the good news is I think these are the answer, and possibly keep the Air One around uh, to add more if we need it. I don't hate the solution. And that was really the name of the game, was more than anything, figure out what didn't work today. So yeah, like I said, I don't hate this. It's still 150-pound line too. It didn't feel nearly too light, despite this is strong gusts right now. Um, I mean, it's not perfect, and it'll take some getting used to, but it's workable. Definitely workable. All right, all right. I like where we're at here. I am gonna go. Honestly, that's enough. I still feel like trash here. And it's windy, so I think we're gonna pack up here as Kite runs away, and we'll talk more in a second. Um, well, that was a productive session, though it was on the short side. Um, I I learned a lot. Learned a lot about some old tools and some new tools, and I have a pretty good plan equipment wise now when the wind goes high. I'm still kind of chatting with John at Canvas a little bit about the possibility of maybe getting a second sale from him and knocking a bunch of extra mesh into it myself as a call it a super vent. It's not something that they've. I mean, we've talked. He and I have talked a few times about a production super vent, but I don't think there's enough market for them to bother generating panels for that. So he and I have talked a bit about if he has a second sale line around, or maybe I will buy a sale from him and add some mesh myself, just as a like real backup plan. Framing that is kind of a question mark because finding enough mass to get it to continue to be an intention when we get past 20. Um, Not that I can't fly the regular vent past 20. I've repeatedly shown that that kite will go past 20 and without generating a huge amount of pull. But it would be nice to spill more pressure off and have an opportunity to try and keep more tricks with less running effectively. Uh, so that's something to look at. Another positive here is as I was listening to a playlist of songs that were maybes for music, I think I have a decision. I am hesitant to say what that is because of all the music drama over the last few months. It needs one small trim, and I also need to see what my buddy comes up with editing the song that I really had as my first hope. But all of those are things that will happen in the next couple of weeks, and you will hear about on the next training days. Thank you, as always, for following along with this and for the channel, for liking, following, subscribing, and sharing. And, one other thing worth pointing out is you heard it here first. Team USA, we have a GoFundMe up now you can donate to. And I'll put a link in the description for this video. But there are going to be some other fundraisers coming. So go on Facebook and be sure to like the Team USA Sport Kite page, because there's going to be some cool stuff coming. John Baresi has been working diligently on getting some cool stuff together as means of fundraising, and you will be hearing about that really soon. So be sure to watch for that, and we will see you out there, Skyrider.